Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Between Monsters and Men. Tonight we are doing something a little bit different. We are comparing the Cockatrice of the Witcher game series to the one of our legend. Before I begin, let me address the fact there is a large amount of controversy between basilisks and cockatrices. There are stories on both creatures with the other name. When researching these creatures, I made sure to identify which was what by the landmarks, sigils, and ancient pictures that were left behind. So for the sake of my sanity and yours, I will be referencing all the stories and terms by the name Cockatrice, even if it was basilisk in origin. The first mentioning of a cockatrice appears in the late 12th century in the book called De Naturis Rerum by Alexander Neckham. When we first start to see the mix-up between basilisk and cockatrice is in Bartholomæus Anglicus de Proprietatibus Rerum in 1260, after it was translated by John Trevisa in 1397. All the gameplay you see of The Witcher is from my gameplay, so this is not borrowed from any other channels, so I hope you guys enjoy. So let's begin. When Garrett, our main witcher, confronts a cockatrice, it is twice his size. The beast has a head of a rooster, feathers colored black, gray, and brown, wings large enough to take flight, legs of a rooster, and tail resembling a dragon's. It is a terrifying beast, but it looks the part. However, in real legend, it is often shown in pictures to be maybe at the highest half a normal man's height. It is described similarly otherwise, some comparing the feathers and scales as yellow or brown. There are a few pictures of it as emerald green. It has the wings of a dragon, the head, neck, and legs of a rooster, and then here's the weird part. Some tales say that it has the face of a rooster, and others the face of a human. The tails also depending on the story as well. Some say the tail can be either a snake's tail or, more commonly heard, the dragon tail. In the Witcher PC journal bestiary, cockatrices are born of eggs laid by roosters consorting with other roosters. The egg must be incubated for 44 days by a toad, which will be devoured by the little beast as it hatches. The game isn't too far off. There is no written word saying that the rooster must consort with another rooster, and remember rooster means male, but the egg is from a rooster and is incubated by a toad or by a serpent. The rooster has to be old, some say, 7 years of age at the least, and it has to be laid under a full moon. The incubation time takes 9 years, or as others claim, just a few days. Either way, the egg shell is not hard but soft and leathery like an alligator's or turtle's, and when hatched, the creature has all of its features that it would have as an adult. We know where they thrive in the Witcher universe. It's written on the boards, in the books, and people are constantly screaming about them. They live in dark caves, abandoned rooms, cobweb dungeons, and somehow manage to fit down the cellar into the basements. I mean, have you seen some of those cellar doors? How is that large beast fitting down those doors? In our legends, it was a little harder to pinpoint. What I was able to find was that it did roam around England, which will be explained later. But the main location I was able to find anything about it living is Cantabrian mythology. Cantabria is northern Spain, and from their mythology, that is the only place it can be found, and it was a rare sighting. The cockatrice is also referred by them as the Belisico. A cockatrice kills with its sharp beak, long tail, and deadly talons in the Witcher universe. They have no fear of charging at a victim or swooping down to commit a kill. But in the legends of our world, things are a little bit different. Much like Medusa of Greek mythology, the slightest glance from the cockatrice's eyes turn victims into stone. And like the basilisk, it can kill by touching its victims or even breathing on them. The difference between the two is the fact that the basilisk's presence alone was venomous. Meanwhile, it is just the cockatrice's saliva that is venomous, apparently so deadly that it can kill an elephant. Later on, due to the dragon-like appearance, it was said to be able to breathe fire and kill with the sound of its voice. Unfortunately, there is no devilishly handsome witcher to hunt the cockatrice for us, whose weakness in their world is simple as fire and a good silver sword. In our world, the only weakness I had at first was the Puto, or Cupid, at which the little angel in appearance had to kill the cockatrice himself. Fortunately, throughout the ages and legends, the cockatrice was reported to be weak to some of the same things as the basilisk. The weasel is immune to the cockatrice's glare and can kill it also. The sound of a crow can cause a cockatrice to thrash itself to death. And lastly, if the cockatrice looks upon itself in a mirror, it will die much like Medusa. But unlike the Gorgon, even after the cockatrice dies, it can still petrify its victims. In the village of Warwell, England, there was a legend of a cockatrice that once terrorized the people. Unable to defeat the beast, the townsfolk were able to trap it in the dungeons below Warwell Prior. Once trapped, they offer up a piece of land to anyone who could kill it. In comes a man named Green. He lowered down a mirror into the dungeon where the cockatrice was trapped, and upon seeing itself in the reflection, the cockatrice perished. Till this day, there is an area near Warwell called Green Anchors. Another comes from Saffron Walden in Essex, England, which is 2.5 hours from Warwell. During the 17th century, a cockatrice with red eyes plagued the land. It was only a foot long and had the ability to breathe fire. This fire killed everything in its path, including people. But where it burns, nothing ever grows again. One day a knight came to the village, wearing a coat made of crystal glass that reflected the creature's gaze. The cockatrice curled up and died on spot, and the knight became a hero to the village. His sword was hung in the church. Unlike Warwell, whose images show a beast more like cockatrice, the beast of Saffron Walden looks more like a basilisk. This is an interesting story because I couldn't find any works of real crystal armor or coats. Crystal is a fine material, easily to break and easy to cut if not properly used. It is hard for me to believe that such armor was real in the 17th century, but who knows? Maybe the armor or coat was more like squares of a mirror he hung from his body. The cockatrice is the guardian creature and traditional symbol of the Swiss city of Basel. Bonson reports in 1202 that a mysterious outbreak of fainting spells traced to a cockatrice that was hidden in a well. The creature was already dead when the hunters found it. The body was recovered and a sandstone statue erected to commemorate the hunt. It is the symbol of the 3rd Fighter Squadron of the Royal Air Force. Like the basilisk, the cockatrice is in many medias, such as Game of Thrones, Dungeons & Dragons, Witcher 3, Pathfinder, Magic the Gathering, and much more. So in comparison, The Witcher 3's cockatrice is not only bigger, seen more, and deadly without its piercing gaze. It's a great beast, feared by the people and only seen to be killed by trained hunters. Though not exact with the legends of our world, The Witcher always seizes the surprises with fantastic beasts based on a world that is fantastically made into worthy opponents, and even some more interesting than our own. So tell me, which would you prefer? My YouTube channel is no longer monetized. If you wish to support me, feel free to check out my Patreon page. I create videos on cryptids, hauntings, abductions, serious killers, and much more. If you can't support me there, please like, comment, and subscribe here. Either way, you're part of the family. I would also like to thank my supporting Patreon thus far.